Good day, everyone. And I would like first and foremost say a couple of words of gratitude to my friends and colleagues for inviting me to speak today to Japanese audience. And I believe that today I could briefly explain you the nuclear history of Kazakhstan, the nuclear present and nuclear future. My name is Yerdulet Rakhmatulla. I'm an emerging global security expert and co-founder of the first youth-led initiative for nuclear justice in Central Asia, titled STEP Organization for Peace, STOP for short. And today, I would like to start my presentation with this question, how it all started. As you know, in Kazakhstan during the Soviet times, we experienced the nuclear testing, and I would like to start with that question, then give you a brief overview of 40 years of nuclear testing on the territory of Kazakhstan, then talk about how it impacts the public health, mental health of people in Semei and Abay region, and also how the environment suffered and is still affected by those nuclear tests. Then I would like to talk about the anti-nuclear movement and the closing of the Semei nuclear test site. Then I would like to speak about the nuclear frontline communities. What are they doing today? Who are they? Then I would briefly also mention the way Kazakhstan disarmed and got rid of its nuclear arsenal, the fourth largest after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And then I would like to talk about the youth activism and nuclear justice in Kazakhstan and internationally. So before talking about Kazakhstan, I would like just to give a brief explanation of where Kazakhstan is, what is that, so to make sure that we are on the same page, because Kazakhstan, Central Asia is not the well-known region, unfortunately, which could be explained by a lot of different factors. So Kazakhstan is the ninth largest country in the world. It's neighbored by five countries: Russian Federation, People's Republic of China, Kyrgyz Republic, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. And we also have connections with other countries through the Caspian Sea. So Kazakhstan is located in the heart of Eurasia, as we call it. It's the landlocked country. And here on the map, you can see the Yertis River that is starting in Russia and continuing to China. And there is a city of Semei, which is the northeast, mostly eastern Kazakhstan territory, where the Soviet government conducted more than 456 nuclear weapons explosions from 1949 until 1989. So now we have better understanding of the region, and I would like to show the following maps from the book by Dr. Togjan Kasenova titled The Atomic Step: How Kazakhstan Gave Up Its Nuclear Bomb. It illustrates the territory of the Semei nuclear test site. There is a legend in the upper left corner that explains the lines and dots on the map. And as you can see, the Semei nuclear test site, which was known as Semipalatinsk nuclear test site, is quite large. Actually, it's the largest nuclear test site in the world. So it was highly securitized, top secret project. Here on the map, on the zoomed map, you see city of Kurchatov, which was also one of the most securitized areas in Soviet Union, where scientists, nuclear engineers, physicists, military personnel lived and worked on the creation of the nuclear weapons, Soviet nuclear weapons program. And the nuclear infrastructure of the NTS is quite complex. As you see, there were several sites. The biggest one was Balapan site. We also had Digelen Mountain site, Ahtan Berli site, Sarıuzen site, and experimental field site. We also had a couple of complexes, territories, um, where nuclear infrastructure was mainly located. Yeah. But as I said, the first question that we should ask before delving into the details about the history of nuclear test site and nuclear affected communities in Kazakhstan is why it was created, how nuclear weapons were constructed, what was the reasoning, and so on. So, as you know, in early 40s, back then leader of the Soviet Union, Stalin, he knew about the Americans' plans and projects and work on the nuclear weapons. And as you know, in July of 1949, President of the US, Truman, informed Stalin that the Americans have a supernova weapon. And in August of 49, US drops two atomic bombs to your hometown, Japan, a tragedy which motivated Stalin to immediately launch large-scale program to develop nuclear weapons in Soviet Union. And in just 2 years, the polygon was constructed. It was quite intensive work. And yeah, and on August of on August 29th of 1949, the first nuclear explosion happened, known as the first lightning. So on the picture you see that very nuclear weapon that was exploded. It was known as RDS, ракетно-двигательный снаряд from Russian, which also had other kind of namings, like ракетный реактивный двигатель Сталина, or Россия делает сама, and so on. But the US people called this reactor as Joe 1, connecting it with Joseph Stalin. Yeah, so this is the first bomb. It was quite similar to the US bomb known as FATMAT, right? So the naming of RDS was kept. So we had RDS 2, 3, and so on in the upcoming years. And the first nuclear explosion looked like this. So overall, the number of nuclear tests exceeded of 450, 453, but actually we don't know the exact number of nuclear explosions. As you know, Soviet government conducted all kinds of nuclear tests, atmospheric, on the ground, underground ones. And it's important to understand that these nuclear tests didn't happen only in Semei, but they also did happen all around the Soviet Union, but especially in Kazakhstan and Central Asian states. So this is screenshots from the interactive website that illustrates all the nuclear explosions that happened in the world. So as you can see, the nuclear weapon development tests are mainly concentrated at the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site, but we also have a lot of different other nuclear tests in central Kazakhstan, in South Kazakhstan, and in other regions, especially in the bordering regions close to Kazakhstan, or also known as historic lands of Kazakhstan, which is in the northwest part from us. Also, a lot of explosions did happen close to the Caspian Sea. And for the ethical purposes, I didn't include the pictures of nuclear victims and nuclear survivors, those people who lived close to the polygon, who suffered from the collateral damage and harm, nuclear harm of those nuclear tests for more than 40 years. As you know, there are several generations of nuclear survivors. The first, the second, we still have the representatives of the third generation, and now we're having the fourth and fifth generations of nuclear victims. And also the nuclear explosions affected the environment. This is just one example of it. On the picture, you can see the so-called atomic lake, which was created after the nuclear explosion, that was also inspired by the US scientists who tried to create artificial lakes and see how the water could be contaminated or not. Yeah, and we have this kind of similar craters on the territory of Polygon in Abai region, which are still contaminated. It's not fully safe to swim there, to consume this water, but there were cases, and it's still happening. People could go there and swim. They could consume fish from these waters and more. The struggles that people experienced for more than 40 years affected all parts of their lives. And it's important to understand that the nuclear frontline communities in Kazakhstan, they never they were active actors in this whole story. There were several incidents when the existence or information about top secret nuclear test site was revealed mainly by Kazakh intelligentsia, people who were writers, local political decision makers, policy makers, which led to the national movement known as Nevada Semei anti-nuclear movement. So you know that people in Nevada state in the US, they also advocated for they advocated against the nuclear explosions and for the closing of nuclear test site. And this story was heard by people in Semei and vice versa. That's why we have the names of these two places, Nevada, Semei, which is actually the first global international anti-nuclear movement in the world. So on the picture, you see the Semei people and also people from other regions, from probably also from other countries who joined the march in Abai region with different kind of posters in several languages advocating for the closing of the nuclear test site, for the termination of nuclear explosions, and revealing the nuclear truths about all this story. These are the modern, the today's heroes, the representatives of a local civil society organization, Polygon 21 Committee. It's a new, comparatively new organization that was emerged back in 2021 by people of Semei City and Abai region, local activists, ordinary citizens, entrepreneurs, and more. And this April, I co-organized the first study tour to Kazakhstan for German civil society organization representatives from different cities, different fields, and we could meet and talk with the nuclear survivors, listen to their testimonials, to know more about the region's issues and how we can collaborate towards the resolution of these issues on local, regional, national, and international levels. We also organized a lot of panel discussions in the last years, and this is one of those where I was a moderator. On the picture, you can see two strong and beautiful ladies. The Gulsum Hanım, she was the one of the members of the Nevada Semei movement. She's still active despite being retired, and she's organizing public hearings on the potential construction of nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. And here's her colleague, Dr. Atahanova, who is a biologist who conducted research on the environmental remediation and environmental contamination of polygon, how it affected and is affecting the public health. Yeah, and it was a great privilege and honor to meet these people, talk with them, and to spread a word about the work that they're doing. We're also collaborating with our government, namely the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As you know, when the polygon was closed in 90s, and Kazakhstan became the new nuclear armed state, but decided to get rid of its arsenal despite the security concerns and more. Since then, Kazakhstan became a global champion for disarmament and non-proliferation, and nuclear disarmament, nuclear non-proliferation, nuclear abolition are actually in the heart of our foreign policy. The whole story of independence, or to be more precise, returning our independence after the Soviet occupation, all starts with the closing of Polygon, with the removal of our nuclear arsenal, decommissioning of the nuclear infrastructure in Semei, and also we decommissioned another nuclear facility, BN reactor near the Caspian Sea, with the support of Russian Federation, the United States. So it's still key point of our agenda, and this is just a picture of us visiting our MFA headquarters in Astana with our international friends, where we discussed with the director of International Security Department, Mr. Baiswanov, the collaboration between the government and civil society. As you know, Kazakhstan is going to preside over the upcoming third MSP to the TPNW, and Kazakhstan and Kiribati, they're also co-chairs of the working group on the Articles 6 and 7 of the TPNW. This summer, Kazakhstan also organized the NPT PrepCom. So overall, Kazakh government is doing a lot when it comes to this cause, and that's why the closer collaboration partnership with local and international civil society organizations, young people, women, is especially important. I would like to briefly also talk about my experience, how I came to this field. So back in 2021, when it still was pandemic, that's why we're wearing these masks on this picture. I was lucky to co-organize the first disarmament and non-proliferation summer school for young people from all around Kazakhstan. We invite great lectures from around the world, namely Kazakh experts, Dr. Tokjan Kasenova, Mr. Aben Dauren, also representatives of the MFA. And in just a couple of days, we educated these young people on a plethora of topics, starting from the nuclear history and finishing with the all international treaties and regimes, my apologies, framework. And this became a good tradition, and German political foundation Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, FES for short, continued organizing this summer school. But just before this summer school, I entered the youth wing, youth group of the CTBTO, the organization of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, that is one of the key actors when it comes to the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. I became its member. I shared about this opportunity during this summer school as well. And I believe another milestone, another important event that really accelerated this mobilization of Kazakh people for nuclear justice in the recent years is the release of the book, The Atomic Step by Dr. Tokjan Kasenova. It was released originally in English by Stanford Publishing, and it was translated into Kazakh language So you see the naming, Atom Ula Andala, or the step that was poisoned by atom. Yeah, it's gonna be the direct translation, poetic translation from Kazakh. And on the picture, you can see her, Dr. Kasyanova in the center, who is a native of Semei region, and her father, who was the founding director of Kazakh Institute of Strategic Studies. He was advisor to first president of Kazakhstan on nuclear weapons issues and foreign policy. And yeah, he was one of the pioneers in this field. And on the picture, you can see my wonderful colleagues from left to right. It's Zhubek, Alisher, Agirim, and Adia. They are nuclear activists, nuclear justice advocates from Kazakhstan. Aigerim and Adia, they're the representatives of nuclear frontline communities from Semei city and Pavlodar city. It's important to understand that even though the polygon was in Abay region, the nuclear tests also affected the neighboring territories in the north, in central Kazakhstan, in eastern Kazakhstan. So Adia, she is from the northern region, but her family and ancestors, they were also affected by nuclear radiation. Yeah, this is a picture from another summer school. I was absent on all of these pictures because I'm not based in Kazakhstan these days as I'm studying abroad, but I'm still engaged in all these processes. I always try to support my young peers, and I'm happy to see that more and more people are interested and concerned about nuclear justice. Myself, I usually try to put efforts in democratizing the peace education in Kazakhstan because it's comparatively a new field. And this is a picture of mine from the American Corner, which is a project of the US Embassy in each city of Kazakhstan. I think you also have these corners in Japan, and each year I try to give a lecture about the nuclear history and nuclear politics of Kazakhstan, commemorating the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. Yeah. So we were working on all these issues as individuals. And last year we were privileged to get selected for the second MSP to the TPNW. And with the initiative of Aigerim Sitenova, who is the nuclear survivor, who is the descendant of nuclear survivors in third generation, she initiated to establish a youth initiative known as STEP Organization for Peace, STOP. And together we organized a side event during the Nuclear Ban Week in at the UN headquarters in New York City, USA. And we spoke loudly with new different perspectives on all these issues that I covered during the today's presentation. We talked about the nuclear justice, the nuclear frontline communities with decolonizing decolonized lands, with gender sensitive lands, and we also called for the larger Central Asian solidarity. So yeah, it was a great start for our team. We could gather up to 50 guests by then, representatives of different countries, different organizations, including the diplomats, the decision and policymakers. Yeah, we are also participating in nuclear technical conferences, such as this one, which was focused on um, nuclear non-proliferation, um, nuclear um, security, safety, and safeguards in Almaty city. I was presenting there online about the nexus of AI and nuclear security. So by wrapping up my today's presentation, which was really brief and concise, but I think still insightful, I would like to share what we're doing these days. So today is that we're just about to start two forums commemorating the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. We're organizing the first Nuclear Survivors Forum, NSF for short, with our international friends and colleagues, namely ICANN and Peace Boat, which is Japanese leading think tank that you probably know. And we're uniting the voices of nuclear frontline communities in Kazakhstan and our international guests from different countries, from the UK, the Marshall Islands, the US, and more. And we're also collaborating with the Center for International Security Policy, which is another Kazakh leading think tank. Yeah, and in just 2 days, I hope we will gather all the recommendations, testimonials of our nuclear survivors and deliver their voices, ideas, demands, and more to the decision makers and policymakers. We're also organizing another event known as Youth Forum with our American colleagues, the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, Reverse the Trend, the Youth Initiative, and we're also collaborating with German political foundation FES in Kazakhstan, where we want to unite the youth voices because it's important to give a floor to young change makers and bring new, fresh, more brave perspectives on disarmament and non-proliferation. We will also we're working and about to finalize the Youth Declaration, a document that consists our concerns, our suggestions for governments that we will send them, and hopefully our ideas will be delivered to those rooms, to those people who decide about the new institutions and policies, namely the International Trust Fund, a trust fund that will be created under the TPNW and hopefully will work for those who really need those resources, that expertise, capacity building, and more. And also our colleagues Rebecca and Alicia, they're in Japan these days, participating in the Youth Leader Fund, which is a new project by the Japanese government. They're visiting Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I believe in the future, the cooperation between Kazakhs and Japanese people advocating for nuclear justice, for the prevention of nuclear war and more will just strengthen. And I believe the partnerships between young people of our countries will also develop as well. Thank you so much for your attention. This was the end of my presentation, and I would love to answer to any kind of additional questions if you have them. Feel free to find me on social media. I will also share my contacts with the organizers. Thank you so much.